Malcolm-Jamal Warner's widow, Tenisha Warner, has now explained why she took legal action involving his mother and a family trust, 1 year after the actor's unexpected death. Tenisha says she felt she had no choice but to act before possible legal deadlines expired. Her reported claim seeks at least $1,276,042.46, but that number is an allegation in an early-stage dispute, not money a court has ordered anyone to pay. The question now is whether obligations Tenisha says Malcolm accepted in a 2022 agreement can legally be recovered from a trust he created decades before their family existed. For verified entertainment updates without the rumors, subscribe to Startline Entertainment. In a statement released on July 21, 2026, Tenisha said she had spent the previous year trying to settle what she described as her husband's complicated estate privately. She said Malcolm intended to provide for her and their young daughter and had been close to replacing an estate plan dating back to 1996. According to Tenisha, he died before that work could be completed, leaving her to pursue the rights she believes were created by a later financial agreement. Those statements describe her position. They do not establish what Malcolm's final enforceable intentions were because no completed replacement estate plan has been made public. Public reporting identifies two important court dates. People reports that documents filed in Los Angeles County Court on July 17th list the amount Tenisha says she is owed. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports that on July 20th, the first anniversary of Malcolm's death, she filed a complaint in Georgia's DeKalb County Superior Court against Pamela Warner, Malcolm's mother and the successor trustee of the Warner Family Trust. These should not automatically be described as two identical lawsuits. The public reports indicate related court activity in two jurisdictions, but they do not fully explain every procedural connection between those filings. The Georgia complaint reportedly centers on a written agreement Tenisha says she and Malcolm signed in May 2022. According to the filing as described by the AJC and People, Malcolm allegedly agreed to maintain a $1 million life insurance policy naming Tenisha as the sole beneficiary. She claims that policy was never obtained or maintained, and she is asking that the financial obligation be treated as a debt recoverable from the trust. The remaining amount is reportedly divided among three additional categories. Tenisha claims $50,542.46 connected to annual anniversary payments, $30,500 connected to a Roth IRA obligation, and $195,000 in unpaid compensation for work she says she performed as Malcolm's chief of staff. Together with the alleged $1 million insurance obligation, those figures total $1,276,042.46. The complaint also reportedly seeks interest, legal costs, and an order temporarily preventing trust property from being distributed while the dispute is litigated. That breakdown is important because the filing is not simply claiming that Tenisha should inherit a certain percentage of Malcolm's wealth. Her reported legal theory is that she is a creditor, that Malcolm made specific financial commitments which remained unpaid when he died. The question for the courts would therefore involve the agreement's validity, the nature of those obligations, the assets legally responsible for satisfying them, and whether the Warner Family Trust can be reached. That distinction is based on the complaint as reported. It is not a prediction of how a judge will rule. The trust at the center of the case was reportedly established in 1996. Tenisha characterizes that plan as outdated because it was created about 2 decades before she and Malcolm formed their family. She says Malcolm was preparing a new plan but was unable to finalize it. That may explain why she believes the older trust does not reflect his later intentions. Legally, however, an intention to revise an estate plan is not necessarily the same as completing and executing a valid replacement. What documents exist, what was formally signed, and which states' laws apply are among the issues that remain unclear from the public reporting. The role of Pamela Warner also requires careful wording. Headlines describe a widow suing her husband's mother, but the complaint identifies Pamela as successor trustee of the Warner Family Trust. That means the dispute concerns her legal administration of trust property, not merely a personal disagreement between two relatives. Tenisha's filing reportedly alleges that Malcolm's estate is currently unrepresented and will not contain enough property to satisfy the obligation she claims. She is therefore attempting to reach assets held by the trust. Those assertions have not yet been tested through a final ruling. As of July 21st, people in the AJC reported that attempts had been made to obtain a response from Pamela or her attorneys, but no substantive public answer to the lawsuit had been included in their coverage. That means viewers should not assume they know Pamela's legal defense, whether she disputes the agreement, whether she challenges the amount, or whether she believes the trust is protected from the claim. Until a response is filed or released, only one side's detailed legal position is publicly available. Pamela did publish an anniversary tribute to her son through his Living Legacy Instagram account. She reflected on grief, personal growth, and difficult experiences during the year since his death. Some of the language described encounters with both cruelty and generosity, but the post did not publicly name Tenisha, cite the lawsuit, or identify a specific person as the target of those remarks. Connecting that language directly to Tenisha would therefore be speculation. The timing has made this story especially sensitive. Tenisha filed the Georgia action on July 20th, exactly 1 year after Malcolm died. In her statement, she said she acted when she did because she feared that a possible statute of limitations deadline could expire. The specific deadline and legal calculation behind that concern have not been fully explained in the published reports. What is confirmed is that the anniversary brought together two very different public developments: Pamela's tribute to her son and Tenisha's effort to preserve claims she says are necessary to support their daughter. Malcolm-Jamal Warner died on July 20th, 2025, while vacationing with his family in Costa Rica. Costa Rican authorities reported that he was pulled farther into the Caribbean by a strong current near Playa Cocles in Limon Province. He was 54. Reuters and the Associated Press reported that he was found without vital signs and pronounced dead at the scene. His death was treated as an accidental drowning. Warner's public legacy extended well beyond the role that first made him famous. He became widely known as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, earning an Emmy nomination during the series' run. He later appeared in productions including Malcolm and Eddie, Suits and The Resident, and he won a Grammy as part of the recording Jesus Children. His unexpected death produced an unusually personal response among viewers who had watched him grow from a teenage actor into a respected adult performer, musician, and poet. In the months after his death, both his widow and his mother announced separate efforts connected to his legacy. Pamela introduced the Malcolm-Jamal Warner Living Legacy account to highlight his work and causes. Tenisha later publicly identified herself, shared a wedding image, and announced the Warner Family Foundation and River and Ember with their daughter. The foundation says its Malcolm-Jamal Warner Creative Legacy Fund is intended to support developing artists. Those projects provide important context. This court case should not be framed as proof that either woman has abandoned Malcolm's legacy or stopped grieving him. Publicly, both have spoken about preserving his work and supporting what he valued. The legal dispute concerns control, obligations, and financial responsibility after a sudden death, not a court ruling on which family member cared about him more. A further development is already scheduled. People reports that Tenisha is expected to sit down with Gayle King for an interview planned to air on CBS Mornings on July 23rd. Because that interview had not aired when this package was prepared, any additional claims, documents, or explanations from that conversation should be treated as a future update rather than included prematurely. The start line takeaway is that the most significant part of this story is not simply the $1.2 million headline. It is the reported gap between an estate plan created in 1996 and financial promises Tenisha says Malcolm made in 2022. Her position is that the older structure failed to protect the family he later built, and that legal action became necessary when private efforts did not resolve the issue. But viewers should not assume that her account has already been accepted by a court, that every claimed obligation is enforceable, or that Pamela has acted improperly. The next meaningful development will be a formal response from Pamela or the trust, a court order addressing the requested restrictions on trust distributions, or additional documentation establishing how the California and Georgia proceedings relate to one another. Until then, the clearest verified summary is this. Tenisha Warner has asserted a creditor claim of at least $1,276,042.46. Pamela Warner has been named in her capacity as successor trustee, and no final decision has determined whether the money is legally owed. 1 year after Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death, the public story has moved from remembrance into an unresolved question about planning, promises, and what happens when a life changes but the documents governing an estate may not change with it.